All right, from the studio in Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Lorenzo Esposito Fornasari accepted our invitation to our show. Lorenzo, welcome to my humble podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Lorenzo, let's go back to the beginning of your life. How did you start in music to begin with? Were you born like in a sort of musical family? Any brother, sister that would play an instrument at the time and that sort of thing?
Not at all. Nobody used to play any instrument. But my brother was just like you, a big music passionate. He's older than me, 7 years older, which makes the difference when you are a kid and you can steal all the cassettes from your brother, because that's what I used to do, even just to show them up with my friends. I wanted to show the grown-ups music.
Yeah.
And we had basically cassettes and vinyls, because I don't remember many CDs around in our home when I was a kid. But yes, that's where I started feeling something when while listening to certain styles of music. And very early, I started singing on the top of the vinyls because all the records had the lyrics, right? So I started singing along with the records and recording myself with a tape recorder. So it was a my very first home studio. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and that was my passion. I would spend probably the whole day doing using pans and cutlery to pretend to play drums and record that, and then on top of that sing all the instruments. I couldn't play any instruments, so I didn't have any instruments at all. So I was using my vocals to pretend to cover all the layers of the music, at least what I could listen, what I could hear. And that was it. Basically, I started like that, but I couldn't take many music lessons until I was already a professional, because I was already I was lucky enough to start my career when I was 20. Mainly outside of Italy, because rock music is not a real thing here in Italy, unfortunately. So that was my preferred word at the moment. So I started collaborating with many artists out of Italy, and when I was 27 or 28. I started studying classical music as an opera singer at the conservatory here in Bologna, and that's where all my theory comes from. The music theory comes from there. But I was already, working as a professional vocalist, a professional musician. So I grew up in the usual, very teeny tiny rehearsal rooms, cellars, garage, or whatever we might find to rehearse our music. That's where I really grew up with all my friends, musically speaking, and that was it.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. Well, looking back now, you have done a lot of stuff. I mean, you are a vocalist, a record producer, film composer. You have worked with Lisa, Gerrard, Nils, Peter Molvær, Eivind, Aarset, Pat Mastelotto, Colin, Edwin, of course, Pat Mastelotto from King Crimson, Colin from Porcupine Tree. And of course, I have interviewed most of them, and you came well recommended. I read a quote in the Prog magazine. This quote is by Sid Smith, which is a very well-known person in the industry. And he referred that yourself, your vocals, your Lorenzo's vocal are astonishing, powerful. Man, what a statement for a guy like him, with Sid Smith. So good for you, man. Good for you. have done very well.
Thank you.
No problem. And of course, rock. Actually, you mentioned before something very interesting. You say, well, rock is not that well known in Italy, but many progressive progressive band came from Italy in the 70s.
Well, 70s.
PFM, to mention us, O.R.k, and of course, Genesis played at the beginning of their career in Italy. So always Italians have a good taste for progressive rock, man. So
we used to be good.
Yeah, not anymore.
70s, probably, and 80s. We had a scene, a prog scene in Italy. I must be honest, I wasn't a prog fan. I've never been, because I musically speaking, I grew up more in the 90s. I was a teenager by then, so music that you listen when you are a teenager is probably the music that you keep listening to when you get older. And the 90s mean, of course, alternative rock, grunge music, and that's the sort of music I grew up with. But yeah, the prog scene in Italy, 70s and 80s, was unbelievable. The Meteor probably one of the most experimental and interesting vocalists in the whole world history. I think nobody did the same sort of research that he did for the vocals.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, do you know the Meteor Stratos?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know the name. Yeah. And then I was looking at, man, your background. Let's go back to the beginning. At the beginning, you worked with O.R.k, which is a word which referred to the class of yokai, which is, kind of sort of Japanese folklore, if you will, that early in your life. What memories do you have from that?
Well, good memories. It was an experimental metal band. My probably only metal act, because I don't come from the metal world, and it was a nice metal experiment, a blend between metal and jazz. We recorded that originally with the Zoo bass player. You know Zoo? They did things also with Mike Patton. Also, we toured with Trevor Dunn. Trevor Dunn, I think you know him. He works with Zorn, with Tomahawk, Phantomas. So it was a very interesting project. And later on, we started collaborating with Colin Edwin from Porcupine Tree, and that's where Colin and I started our relationship as friends more than music partners. So yes, good memories indeed. Even just because of that.
Sure, good for you. Then later on in 2004, I want to go in chronological order. You started work with Eraldo, Bernocchi, with whom you produced the album Unisono, right? Then you began doing collaboration with Bill, Giovanni, and so many. What memories do you have for that period? Because it's
spending good time in New York City with Bill Laswell. What a dream! Yeah,
that's right.
Especially those years, I have very beautiful memories of New York. Probably just because I was drunk all the time. Yes, yeah, that was the good part of working with. One of the best parts, walking around the city with Bill and with my friends Eraldo and Petulia, and we were mixing the record. Bill was recording also bass and producing the record with us, mixing. So yes, that was beautiful, and we managed to also to do another very beautiful project together called the Soma. It was with Bill, Nils, Molvær, and 7 Tibetan monks. Eraldo Bernocchi, of course, it's one of the most famous Eraldo Bernocchi's projects. It was called Soma.
Yeah. You did that in 2007, almost.
Exactly. And so we managed to do that live in Italy in a theater in Milan. It was exceptional. When I say that, I'm not talking about music. I mean the person, the people that I got to work with. I learned a lot from them, and I got a lot from them on a personal perspective, personally speaking, because I can't think of an artist without taking in account if he's a good person, if he is someone that gives me a lot in terms of energy, in terms of light, and we'll get to that again when we discuss the work with Elisa, because she is light, she is pure light. So that's
sure.
Very important for me. When I work with someone, I need to have a good relationship. We have to be on the same page always. Not always. I mean, we don't have to have the same ideas, but we have to get to have a real relationship. It can't be just a collaboration. It can't be just music. At least it's the way I work. It's the way I feel, and that's why O.R.k, my band, is now, I think it's the next year will mark the 10th year of life of the band. It's longest band ever in my case, and that's because we are family, we are friends with Pat, with Colin, with Carmelo. We are friends. That's a very important of my profession.
Of course it's important to be happy with the people that you work and record music and so on and so forth. There are many complicated people in the world, so it's good to have people that you get along with, so you can be happy. Otherwise, you're not into it, right? So
exactly.
So it's in 2007, in 2009, you wrote the soundtrack for La Torre Riflette, and it's a video installation for the Torre Bologna as well at the time. And that was the first soundtrack you end up producing, or the second, I think?
Probably not. I was lucky enough to score other short films and documentaries and docu-films back in the days, and I think I got a few awards because of that. Yes, I was lucky enough to get a few awards, and that's where I started, thinking that my music was beautiful working on my own or working with other musicians, but working with other visual artists was like completing the whole. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It was just like giving a fifth dimension to what I was doing. It wasn't just music, and you could imagine what was behind the music, what's behind the lyrics, what's behind our work. It's giving more of a vision of an experience. So I felt that was my thing totally, and I started working more and more for the. This is Pat Mastelotto, as you can hear. The dark, dark is Pat. Sorry.
It's okay. Tell him that I say hello when you talk to him.
It's a text, because we are gonna tour with O.R.k, the band, in May.
That's right.
So a lot of back and forth with Pat and Colin and the other guys. So yes, working for films, it's something that I started doing more and more, and I had to study to do that, because I another thing of musicians, at least I'm not talking in general. I can't speak in general, but it's my way of living, right? We constantly need to see something that you still can't do, or that you still don't know. It's the research is never over. We are constantly looking for something new, because otherwise we get bored. At least I get bored. I always need new things to study. It's a very important part of my life, because otherwise I get bored. My brain starts feeling dull. And no, I think that's a very important part, and a very fun part also of our work. Keep researching, keep being curious.
Of course, absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And later on in your life, in 2010, you disclosed an approach to bel canto as you make the debut in Nino Rota Il Principe Porcaro. There was an opera there at the time. Man, you've been... Huh?
Where did you find those things?
Oh, because I do research. I study your life, right? That's my job, When I interview someone, I need to research. I could remember, to give an example. Now we're talking about Mastelotto. When I interviewed him, I asked stuff that he didn't remember. Oh, yeah. That was that year with that guy. Yeah, you're right, Claudia. He said, yeah, I forgot about that stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I kind of forgot. Actually, I didn't forget about that, but it's a very teeny tiny part of my path. As I said before, I started at some point studying at the conservatory as an opera singer, and I like singing Puccini and Verdi. I still like doing that, and Pat and Colin, they find quite hilarious that whenever I have to warm up my vocals, warm up before every gig, and when you tour for a month and you have practically only 3 or 4 days off, you've got to be very careful and warm up properly every day. And I do it by singing Verdi and Puccini.
Puccini and Verdi.
Rock concert, but in backstage, it's a complete another word. So it might sound a bit silly, but yes, I still do that as a warm up. But I've never wanted to do that in theaters, not because I couldn't, but because if you do that, you can only do that, and I could never stick to one only music word. I need to suck blood from many music words. Yeah,
and completely understand. Let's talk about the period with O.R.k. So what does O.R.k, feel free to describe what the meaning of that means to you. I mean, musically speaking, because the band seemed to maintain a balance between different genres. So it's not that easy. Somebody will say, what O.R.k? Well, if you listen to 4 or 5 records and you recently released a new record with them, they are very different. I mean, there's not only that it's a different type of music and the approach that you have, but every record is very different from one another. So it's hard to pinpoint what O.R.k is about. What does it mean to you that to be playing with this guy?
First thing first, O.R.k is clearly an acronym, but we are never gonna spill the beans. We don't know. We do know what that means, but we are not gonna spill the beans. So because it's so fun, everybody comes up with a different interpretation. Is that orgasmic rhythm chaos or something? So it's funny. So we like, people keep doing that, so keeping doing that. So we are not gonna spill the beans. And but when it comes to O.R.k, the thing is, we see records as a picture of ourselves, in that particular moment. So we don't really care about styles. We don't overthink we don't overproduce what we play. We just try to write music in the most instinctive way possible. That's why many journalists, when they interviewed us, they thought our music was produced and recorded with all of us in the same room, but that's not a thing. It was, of course, it was recorded remotely, but it felt like, you know, we were in the same room just because of our strong bonds. It's what we were saying before, right? We are family. And that makes our music feel as if we were in the same room, even if we are not, even if we work remotely. And that happens when you tour many times in the same van together, and you start growing relationships and bonds between the people, you know, not only the band, but also our crew. It's a part of our family, a very important part of our family. All this is reflected by what we do, musically speaking. So it must be constantly evolving or different, or even if it's not evolving, it must be different because we are different from what we used to be 10 years ago. Now, also the world is very different from what it used to be back in 2015 when we started the band.
Yep.
Totally different. That brings me to the title that we decided to give to the latest record, right?
Yep.
And so we don't overthink, we don't overproduce, we just let our instinct say whatever he wants to say in music, and that's how O.R.k. works. It's pure energy. It's pure friendship also. Yeah,
and it's good that you know, in the last every 2 years you guys put a new record, which is unbelievable for certain band, because you know, Colin is working with other people, you are working with other people, you do another stuff, Pat Mastelotto is working with other people as well. So it's good to have, you know, continue, you know, it's like having a continuation and produce a new record every 2 years. So, for example, in 2019, you end up releasing the album, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, Ramagehead,
yeah.
Ramagehead, right? Which is a very good album. And then in 2023, you end up releasing another album, right? Screamnasium.
Yes, Screamnasium. We were ready to release that record in 2020. 1 year the Ramagehead record, and we were supposed to tour with my friend Serj Tankian from System of a Down and the System of a Down. They were touring Europe, and we were supposed to open for them, for System of a Down in big arena. That was you know, we were very happy, of course, and then COVID.
Yeah, unfortunately, It
messed up all our plans, so we had to push back the release of our record. We released it 2 years later, because otherwise we would have produced, you know, 2, 4, 5 records in 6 years or 7 years. But we do it. That's because we don't overthink, we don't overproduce. We keep having fun while we play together. So every time we record something, we feel okay. That's good. That's fantastic. Let's play it live and record new stuff, because we want to say something else. We want to say something.
Sure. No, I understand. And then with O.R.k, you end up recently, you know, the highly anticipated new album, Fire Hose of Falsehoods, right? That is out now. And good for you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
That you keep on evolving, you keep on working with the same people. And yeah, that's as I said before, every album because I listened to your music in the last 3 days. I was preparing question for the interview. very good stuff. And O.R.k is a obscure band with a lot of great musicians, but year after year, every 2 years you release a new album, and now what, 5 albums, or you mentioned in 7 years, you keep on raising the bar, and which is very good, So some bands, they're doing the same area, right? Prog rock, and from kind of this limiting to a couple areas, but you guys are, if you really want to know what O.R.k is all about, you need to listen to everything, and buy the records and buy the CDs, whatever, because they're very different for one another. And it's good that you have the energy with this guy, because Colin and Pat, and they're unbelievable musicians, man. And good for you, man.
Unbelievable people. They are fantastic.
Yeah, it's good, right? You need to, like you say before, right? You need to have chemistry. If you want to tour with somebody, you want to keep on working with somebody, the chemistry, the friendship, the professionalism need to be there. Otherwise, it's not going to work, right? You want to stay in a room for one day and say, hey, I don't get along with this Johnny or Peter or whatever. I'm out of here,
Yeah, well,
arrogant people or whatever, so.
Well, I know it's a fact that a few bands work like that. It's for them is just business, so they can tour without even seeing each other after the show, and I don't know. That's not my way.
No, of course not. Yeah, no, I understand. Let's talk about your record with Lisa Gerrard as well. I'm Not Alone was the debut single from the original soundtrack, 100, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Prelude, created, of course, by Lisa and yourself and the brilliant Erika Picotti on cello. And how do you end up, of course, I imagine you knew of Lisa Gerrard. I don't know if you had met her at the time, and how the friendship and the collaboration came about.
Well, I was working on this film score, Cento Preludi, for the film directed by Alessandra Pescetta, and at some point I felt that I needed something special for a few pieces, because this film is very poetic and intimate. She's got it's visually haunting, right? So the music took a very important part of the movie, because it's the story is about a cellist, a young cellist, and they asked me to score the music before they even started, filming, because they needed to film a few scenes with my music. The cellist would play my music while filming. That was part of the script. So music is an important part of that film, and it was very challenging. And at some point, I discussed that with the director, of course, but I felt that one piece of the puzzle was missing, and it was what I could describe like the role of the nature of all the objects and the elements surrounding the main character, the cellist, because she starts orchestrating at some point as part of what we might think in the film, that it's part of her illness. She's getting sick, and we don't know if it's real or a dream or a nightmare. What we see in the film when she starts orchestrating all the objects in her room while playing the cello, and it's an important part of the film at some point. And I felt that we had to give voice to all these objects, to the nature. And it was a no-brainer choice for me. Lisa Gerrard was a no-brainer choice, because she's not just a singer. She's one of a kind, legend. I can't what she does. In other words, she's light. She's pure light. And I thought, yes, I don't want a vocalist. I want Lisa Gerrard. So
Yeah,
I just reached out. I described my idea. She was very enthusiastic about what I said and what I described and the music that I shared. She liked it, so we started collaborating. And of course, I knew that at the moment that I got vocal stems, my perception was completely different. The same score was, sounded completely different. So I had to remove many layers because I didn't want the Lisa's vocals to work as as just vocals. I want her vocals to be the main thing there, and all the orchestra that was originally the main thing to build around the vocals. So it was the other way around, and it worked. And it still gives me chills whenever I decide because she's Lisa.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I have had the opportunity to interview her like 3 times already or so, and she's out of this world. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. It's I remember asking her how you produce that kind of music and the vocals, and which it is in English and so on and so forth. And she's she's way up there, right? It's like the I don't know, it's so messy, out of this world. There are people that are out of this world, in another category or whatever.
Yeah.
And Elisa is, of course, one of the. And plus, she's like you say before, she's a very nice human being, a very nice person. Easy to. We are all, as human beings, we are all complicated people, but she's easy to get along with. I have met her as well, and she's been good to me. So she's a very good person. Do you anticipate working with her in another project, another soundtrack down the road?
It was the first work we co-scored, the film Cento Preludio, but we are now developing other projects and also a live performance that hopefully will take place later this year or next year. So there will be more and more, because we love working together. So we are finding new dimensions for this collaboration.
Yeah, and there's something, if you can, whatever you can describe, and if you can not mention, don't mention. But it's something that it will be probably like a tour with who other people as well. I mean, besides the two of you, or
I'm sorry, I can't tell you.
Okay, but it's okay, but
it's gonna be great, and well, unfortunately,
in general terms, but you think it's going to be 2025 or
do next time? Probably, I can explain what we had in mind.
Fair enough. No, I understand. Yeah, but you need to come be positive because you play live. I will fly and attend a couple of shows.
Great.
And plus, I want to see you playing live. I never see you playing live. And it's of course I have not seen the movie. I listened to the music a couple of times, like 3 times, especially I saw the first video and then the other videos. And I always treasure Lisa Gerrard. I mean, she's so gorgeous and haunting voice, and like you say, the beautiful light never ceases to move you. Deep love and admiration for her. If you look back in your life, Lorenzo, what do you think are your major vocal influences? I'm quite sure you have heard the comparison between you and, of course, the legendary Chris Cornell. And because feel free to mention that or compare or contrast or.
Well, of course, I'm flattered by the comparison. A few other journalists told me that find similarities with another god, which is Jeff Buckley. I'm really, really happy, flattered by the comparisons, because those are the artists, the voices I grew up with when I was a kid. And probably, yes, that was my music school. Listening to those records was my music school. So I learned a lot. And I learned how to let out my feelings by using a certain style of shouting or singing. Yes, that was very important probably back in the days. But as I said, I keep experimenting, and I see that a bit limiting comparison somehow, because I might sound a bit like Chris Cornell or Jeff Buckley or whatever you want to find a comparison with, but that's part of my job. That's part of what I do. In other projects, I use my vocals as an instrument, but I won't hide behind a finger. I won't do that. It's certainly part of my music school, as I said before. Listening to Soundgarden, listening to Jeff Buckley, listening to Nick Drake, listening to whatever I was listening back in the 90s. I can't mention many other bands, but yeah, Faith No More, or my music school. So of course I have something. I'm bringing something with me from what I learned days.
Gotcha. No, I understand. And I believe that the soundtrack with Lisa has been released under Eraldo, right? In the UK, London, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hopefully they will send me a copy.
Yeah.
I'm in touch with them. I'm joking. So they always send me stuff. And in general terms, Lorenzo, is it difficult to make a living as a musician? If music didn't exist, or for any reason you lost your voice or whatever, it's another profession that you will pick, and if you or
I like the visuals. I mean, it's another artistic field that I really love. But I could never see my life without sound and music and noise. So short answer, no, I couldn't see myself doing other than what I've been lucky enough to do for the last 25 years. But at the same time, we would be liars if we didn't mention that being a musician now is totally a completely different job from what it used to be, because now it's more like, unfortunately, the creative part of being a musician. It takes only the 15, if you're lucky, 20% of your time. That's as bad as that, because you're in constant need of keeping up with all the latest social media crap. Sorry for the word.
Okay.
Okay, you can cover that with a beep, probably.
Don't worry. Yeah.
I'm an animal. I'm instinctive, as I said.
Sure.
Anyway,
or interview, social media interview. Right. It's a lot of.
We need to keep up with all whatever is not strictly connected with your creativity, but it keeps you alive as a musician. So it's a big conundrum, because you hate doing that, but you can't help doing that. So,
right. No, I understand. Plus, doing interviews with Claudio as well. That
it takes a big part of our lives, and whoever is struggling to keep up with this, evolution of being a musician, yeah, it's probably because they can't cope with this transformation, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's a matter of surviving. If you want to keep your creativity alive, and if you want to keep your music spreading out, you have to do that. Unfortunately, you have to.
It's a necessary evil, like they call it here. Like you have to do it. No,
you
yeah.
can't find it. Also, you join its army.
Yeah. And you're going to be touring now very soon. You go May 7, May 9, the 11, the 14. Of course, you start in Italy, Netherlands, Austria, Slovenia, Poland, United Kingdom, so forth. Good for you, man. Are you imagine that you're looking forward to? It's going to be a lot of rehearsal that you have to need to do before the first gig.
Yes, of course. It's a new record, so we have to rehearse the new material, and we are planning to do a very extended set compared to what we used to do, because we have 5 records now.
Sure.
Even prefer to play music from the latest 3 records, which represent who we are right now. It's a massive amount of music, so we definitely need to rehearse, and we usually do that for 4 or 5 days before hitting the road. With Pat, Colin, Camilo, our sound engineer Mattia. Yes, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, good for you, man. Hopefully I could find a place and a time where I can go and see you playing live and meet all the guys and take some pictures and buy some records for you as well.
Us to play to play in US, especially Pat is is always trying to find us way to, but it's very, very, very expensive. Even just getting permits, it's unbelievably expensive.
Yeah, so you need to get working visas to play here, and
that's the thing.
Yeah, well, hopefully I will be able to find you somewhere in the UK or somewhere in Italy as well, somewhere. And keep me posted on the Kapstad with Lisa Gerrard, and if you're going to be touring, and and this year, next year, happy to help promote your new album or the new project or whatever. I'm here to help. Your music is great. You're doing well, man. You are working in different areas. Good for you, man. Some people have the ability to have stuff. Say hello to Pat and Colin, and we'll talk very, very soon again. And thank you again, man. And good luck with your new computer. And if you have questions, feel free to text me. I can help you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take it easy, man. Have a good evening there.
Take care. Thank you.